show. Welcome to Cherokee Now. Today we have Charles Bryson joining the show. Welcome to the show, Charles.
Thank you.
Now, Charles, you're the fire marshal for the fire department.
Yes, sir.
What does that entail?
Basically what our office does, we do the code enforcement for the fire department for the tribe. We do a lot of plans review for the new construction that's going on around the tribal lands. We do fire inspections of the existing facilities, do investigations of fires, and we do education and life safety education for anybody that really requests it or needs it.
So your department's all over the board with the safety and the kinds of things that you do day to day with fire safety.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Now, recently a code change had happened with regards to fire safety. Can you talk a little bit about that code change?
And one of the things, a lot of times we get questions or people that make the comments, well, we're a sovereign nation, so we don't have these specific codes.
Right.
But it's important to know that the tribe has adopted the language of the North Carolina Fire Code.
Okay.
So it's recognized as a basic standard throughout North Carolina, and it's based off of international code as well. So it's more than just one agency that's recognized the importance.
So it's a very robust, safe fire code.
It is, yes. So the tribe's adopted the language of that. There's been some things that have changed in there, and most importantly, and we get a lot of questions that come in, one specifically on these flying Chinese sky lanterns. Now, in the previous code, which came out in 2012, these were allowed by North Carolina, but there's been some incidents that have happened throughout the states. It's gotten to the point where there have been 30 states that have banned the use of these sky lanterns. North Carolina, in the current code that came out in 2018, they don't ban them outright, but what they say now is that if you're using them, they have to be controlled. There has to be a means of tethering them so that they can't just fly away and be uncontrolled.
Gotcha.
Most recently, there was in 2015, there was a fire. They had a festival where they released hundreds of these.
Okay.
And there was an incident where a few of these actually got into a cell tower and caught the cell tower on fire.
Oh, wow.
And you were looking in excess of $500,000 damage.
Oh, my goodness.
So, and there's been several other businesses, residents that have been affected by this. And it's important to know that if people are using these, that you've got to follow the rules and regulations that go on with it.
So it's not that folks can't use them here.
Correct.
It's that folks need to tether them properly and probably need to talk with your office prior to even doing it to make sure all of that's happening. Is that correct?
And we'll be glad if they have questions about it on how they can use it. We'll be glad if they contact us to come out and take a look at the venue that they're using them in and make some recommendations and suggestions.
Awesome.
They're very popular during weddings, graduations, those types of
memorial
things.
services.
Yes.
So folks are starting to do some clearing and cutting now. In addition to that, what is this process for safe burns, permitting? Is there any such thing here that we need to be aware of?
Yes, there is a process for controlled burning, and we do ask that people go ahead and submit. We've got a process to get a burn permit, and we'll put that up. The address is CherokeeGIS.com/burn permit.
Okay.
And you can do that online.
All right.
And keep in mind of the weather conditions. Don't want to do it when it's extremely dry or windy.
Okay.
But that it's something that we do allow. All we ask is that people get a permit for it. And for those senior members out there, there's a lot of people that still don't have access to internet or don't like to use the internet. You can still come by the fire department. We'll assist you in filling out a permit for that.
Okay. Does the burn permit cost anything, or is it?
It does not cost anything. It's free, and they're good for 30 days.
Okay, good.
And if it goes beyond that point, then all the people have to do is call in or come back by, and then we'll do an extension on it.
Excellent.
The biggest thing that the permits allow us to do is if it gets to conditions where, in association with forestry, we decide that we need to implement a burn ban, then we have contact information for those people to call back and let them know.
Gotcha. Now, are there best practices when it comes to burning some brush at home? I've got a tree down in my backyard right now that I need to cut up and pile up and burn it, but I'm a little nervous about it. I've not done anything on that scale yet. What's the best practices for something like that?
Try and keep it at least 100 yards away from a building or occupied structure. Get it in an open area. Make sure that you've got got a good standoff distance from other combustibles.
Okay.
Typically where we see these fires occurring, people are burning off their gardens, burning off leaves or something around their house. The wind comes up,
Gotcha.
especially in the mid to late afternoon. It comes up, it'll spread the ashes, and they're just don't have enough defensible space between the fire and the adjacent combustibles.
Gotcha.
And that's when it gets away from them.
Okay. How can the public work closer with your office to ensure proper safety is taking place? Are there risk areas that you've identified over the years that would be beneficial for folks to know about now so they can better help you do your job?
Yes. Typically, in your residential homes, one of the biggest things that we see, the fires that we do have occur, and we have quite a few that occur on tribal lands, a lot of times we find that people do not have working smoke detectors in the houses.
Oh, God.
The key things to know with your smoke detectors, number one, have them.
Right.
Number two, they need to be replaced every 10 years.
Okay.
There's limited life components that are in them that helps with the detection factor. That those components will
Age
die
and rust or
age
not
as they
work.
go out. So check your batteries. Most of the detectors you buy today, they've got a battery that lasts 10 years. So
Right.
when it's time to replace the battery, it's time to replace the detector.
We should have a national, or at least a tribal awareness day of smoke detectors,
Yes.
where we could get everybody on board to just go home tonight after work, check all your smoke detectors, and maybe we could even do a thing where we can pick up some low cost smoke detectors for elders or someone to.
And it's something that we do consistently work on. John Reed with the Fire and Life Safety Education staff, they actively work to look for grants
Okay.
to help with funding for smoke detectors,
Good.
and they're in the process now of trying to get some smoke detectors in. And they do seasonal activities specifically around Fire Prevention Week in
Okay.
early October.
Oh, good.
And most times they put that information out there to check your batteries, check your smoke detectors.
Okay. Well, we should tell John I want to declare sometime in October Tribal Smoke Detector Day. That'd be a simple thing we can celebrate. We can get everybody aware, create an awareness for that. And it's a simple little thing. It wouldn't cost us a whole lot of money at all. Probably a grant can pay for smoke detectors, and we can issue that out to folks that need them, identify that they need them that day.
Absolutely.
Cool. Anything else? What else can we?
On the commercial side of it, the issue that a lot of times that we see is the storage. And the businesses, they do a good job. We got a lot of older buildings here. And the important thing to remember is we're not going to come in with the 2018 fire code
Right.
and try and inspect your business up to today's
Right.
standard. We always go back and look at, okay, when the building was built,
Grandfather, that kind of
that's
in.
the kind of things that we look for. But it's typically the storage issue.
Okay.
Items, combustible items that have been placed in there, and typically if you've not used it within the year, it's time to get rid of it.
Right.
But a lot of times they have limited space on where to store these items, and they wind up storing them next to hot water heaters, mechanical rooms, things of those natures.
You guys are just a phone call away. This information's just a phone call away. People need to make sure they reach out to you when they have questions like that, or if they have areas of concern.
Mhm.
And you guys you'd be more than willing to go out and visit and see what they have in mind there, that you can help them mitigate any kind of damage or potential fire hazards that they have. Is that right?
That's right. I'm in the office Monday through Friday from 7:30 to 7:45 to 4:30. The thing about the fire department, 24/7, 365, and we still make house calls.
You'd rather do preventative, take a half hour, do some prevention, than spend 5 days putting out a fire in somebody's home where somebody might have got hurt or in a business. So,
Yeah.
and I applaud that, and I hope the public does connect with you guys more and say, hey, here we're wanting to burn, or we have some areas of concern here. Can you come and help us understand what we're doing here? And
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Yeah, and it's important, and we hope that we do our job well. We want to think that we do our job well. I know on Sunday alone there were 2 fires that resulted, and we were able to catch them early. Resolved electrical issues within the house.
Okay, so that's another area that folks need to look at. Is their electrical.
Yes.
What specifically to the electrical part do folks need to be looking at when we go home?
Making sure, number one, that we're not overloading the circuits.
Okay.
And a lot of times you'll go in, especially the older houses that don't have a lot of receptacles to them. People have extension cords plugged in. They have multi-cord or outlet
Right.
extensions that are plugged into others that are run. That's one issue that we have. You overload the circuit. The other thing that we've had issues with before is cell phone chargers. People will go out. Typically, your cell phone, when you purchase it, comes with a charger that's from the company.
Made from the company.
But if something happens to that, people will go out and get another one, and they'll buy just one off the shelf.
Gotcha.
And they're looking for the cheapest
the gas
thing
station
that they can get.
Plug.
And unfortunately, a lot of times those wind up. There's issues with them.
Okay.
And it's always better spend the money, get the appropriate one for the appropriate device.
Okay. So everybody needs to check those. Go home and check yourself. If you've bought an aftermarket one, especially, check your charger. Make sure it's not hot. Make sure and replace it with a working original equipment material there, and order one. But for a day, it's okay to, if you need to charge your phone, but get one on order, replace it.
Yes.
And then also check and make sure that we're not overloading circuits by plugging in multiple devices. And that's just a science. That's a physics thing. When you get so much power running through so many different outlets there, it's going to create heat. It has to have a place to discharge that, and it's usually right there in those old outlets, and it'll burn the whole wall down.
Yes. The more you look, the newer codes, a lot of the things that have changed in there address specifically the electrical side of it, but it's important to realize we've got a lot of older residences, a lot of older buildings on tribal lands that were built before the newer codes came into effect.
But even if you have that older code, reach out. Maybe we can work with the tribe to see if there's some opportunities that we can help to mitigate some of those harms, to help with the electrical part of that. But you guys could happily do some of those tests as well and identify some things.
Yes, we could.
Well, great. Well, thanks for joining me today, Charles. It's been a pleasure, and to have you guys right here so close. And like I said, if folks do need to reach out to you about the burn permit, there's a website we're going to put up. There's the phone number. Is that your phone number there to your office?
359-6584 is the number to the fire station.
Okay.
And then my office specifically is 359-6152.
Okay, great. Well, that'll be it for today. If you're listening at home and would like to comment on the show or ask questions regarding what we've discussed today, please reach out to our EBCI Cherokee Now Facebook page at facebook.com/Cherokee Now. We'll see you again real soon. David Dogahoney.